Okay, we'll start with public comment. Jerry, do you have anybody that wishes to speak tonight?
Yes. Michael Party.
Good evening, Michael.
Good evening.
Mr. Cliff, men, gentlemen of the town board. A couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago as a matter of fact, serving as president of the Forest Lakes Homeowners Association, we were plagued with an obnoxious noise coming from a light manufacturing company, Niagara Sheets. For 2 months, this noise had been going on, and complaints were filed with the building inspector. And I believe, Mr. Cliff, you were approached by one of our members, Mr. Carl Calabrese. Since that time, we garnered a petition requesting something be done, especially to prevent this noise from disturbing what is a very quiet and comfortable community. And gentlemen, I honestly believed that hopefully you have rectified the situation by garnering Niagara Sheets to put a muffler on their exhaust system. This noise at times wasn't only during the day, but sometimes between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And it really did disturb our environment. So all I am doing here tonight is, first of all, thanking you if you did correct the situation, but I would like to just present you with a petition that we were garnering to make sure that you were aware that there were people in our community who were upset, and we truly appreciate what action was taken to rectify the situation. So I don't know who I would present this to.
Give it to Kathy, please.
That's the extent, gentlemen.
Nice to
Thank
hear
you
from
very much.
Okay, Jerry.
Sharon Muir.
I live over on Moyer Road, and I'm addressing a situation, what happened on Kruger Road. Very tragic. I understand it 100%. And I have followed everything in the paper as far as what the board has suggested, as far as sidewalks, and different things. And to me, that would be opening a whole can of worms. There are too many roads in the town that are as narrow or narrower. Now, I'm a walker. I'm also trying to ride a bike, which I refuse to do right now. And with all the new developments off of Schultz Road, we have a lot of walkers, we have a lot of bikers, and we have people pushing baby carriages. Now, the majority of people are very courteous and will move out of your way. But you're going to get that one person, or I have had to almost jump in a ditch, because we have a lot of ditches along Moyer Road. And it's gotten to the point where when you see someone coming, you automatically move over. And just in particular, just one bus driver from Star Point, he would not move for me. I swear he would have hit me if I would not have moved. I don't know why. I never did anything to him. But anyway, there's just one bus driver. That's beside the point. But I think my point is, I had a suggestion that instead of sidewalks, to me, that would take away the whole rural atmosphere. I can't see sidewalks put in the town, no place. My suggestion possibly would be, how about if we tried maybe signs at the beginning, say, of Shawnee and the end of Moyer and the beginning of Schultz, and, say pedestrians crossing or pedestrians walking or something like that. Because we do have more people every day that do walk, and like I say, the majority of drivers are courteous, but you have your few that are not. Even coming here tonight, I had to go way out because they were walking, they did not want to move. So you have to be very, very cautious. That's my point.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Julie Otto.
Good evening. I just wanted to check, has there been a decision made from Judge Caruso regarding the Quasar issue?
Matt, anything?
No, we have
Okay.
not received anything, and I think it's been about
Since June 25th.
yeah, it's been a while, but typically, we're getting into the time period now where we might start to expect, I would say, on a decision of that nature with that many papers filed. It's not unusual that we haven't gotten it yet, but nothing's come in as of today.
Okay. Ag and Markets, at the last meeting you said that our attorney Stephen Ricca had sent them more information and that we hadn't received a response. Has that letter been finalized, and can I get a copy of it?
That letter went out, I think, that day, that Monday, I believe it went out.
Can I get a copy of it?
See Kathy?
Okay.
Yeah, that's one we put on the website, right?
I think
Oh, is it
so,
on the
yeah.
Yeah,
website?
it's on the website.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
it's a 6-page letter, but then there's a bunch of pages amended to it, so, appended to it,
Okay.
I should say.
And then, did anybody ever ask regarding the list that Quasar is supposed to provide to the DEC of what was put in that tank for the last year? It was self-monitoring. They're supposed to provide that. And if no, would somebody please ask for it? I've asked several times. I'd really, really like to see who's dumping in that tank. All right. Have they asked for a modification, Quasar, still?
Okay. Nothing that I'm aware of.
Then, I was reading through the proposed minutes or the motions for tonight, and I just wanted to make sure I'm reading this correct, or I wanted to ask for clarification. The motion to authorize Wendell for the professional services for the Niagara River Waterfront Multi-Use Trail in accordance with the proposal letter dated July 9th for a lump sum of $346,000 and $346,635. Is that their professional fee, or does that include the project?
The project is about 1.8 million, I think, Tim, if I remember the number.
So this is their professional
This is
fee?
the design of the project. And it is part of the grant, so it's, at this point, 80% reimbursable.
Okay, but that is just the professional fees, not anything for the materials?
This is
Okay.
taking us through the finished design up to the point of letting out bids.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't
Of-
sure, because I saw the grant, or the bonding.
And it is
Stuff
for
in here.
it is for the entire design, not just the portion that we have the grant for.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Jerry? Okay, is there anybody else that wishes to speak who may not have signed up? Dave, do you have anything you want to say? Nothing doing? Okay, we'll move on to Kathy. For the record, all board members are present. We do have a set of minutes, gentlemen. It's from the July 13th meeting, 2015. Does somebody want to move those in for approval?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Art, second by Gil. Any changes, anything you wish to change or modify? If not, then all in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved. We have a bill to pay. It's modified a little bit from what was put into the agenda. There was one bill added. The total amount of money is $274,576.59. The voucher numbers are 2015-1314 through 1419. Somebody wish to move these in so I can get them paid?
So moved.
I heard Randy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Larry. Any bills you wish to hold? If not, then all in favor of paying these signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved. We'll move on to departments. Paul, what's going on in highway?
We just finished up our first round of paving.
Hmm?
We did Kramer, Demler, Schultz, Idra, Samantha, Holmeyer. Once I get some other work done, I get concrete work, stripes and stuff like that, we may amend our agreement and try to add another road or two. We have been behind on chipping. I know my phone's ringing off the hook about chipper's supposed to be here on Tuesday. You haven't seen it in 3 weeks. Well, when we're paving, it takes every guy we have. So the chipper does not go on the road. For the most part, in summertime, we have big projects. I do have to periodically take it off the road. I hope your patience. They're out now. I actually have them working on Saturdays when I get a crew together, try to catch up a little bit, but just go with us a little bit and let us get caught up on it.
Okay. Any questions for Paul?
I have a question, Paul. On Lockport Road, the stormwater prevention plan, is everything in place, or silt fence over where on the north side where all the fill's going in? Has Ron been, or has Ron been over there? I know that there was a letter sent to that man, and I'm not, from the road I can't see any silt fence. I'm just curious.
I heard a response from the letter. It was from Mr. O'Toole, supposed to send a letter at the time. And I thought they were going to respond back to him. I've never heard of Ron's on vacation this week, so I couldn't even ask him.
Okay.
Matt, you haven't seen anything on that, have you?
No, I'm not aware of it at
Randy,
all.
I think, I believe Mike Locke was involved with that. There was something going on with utility companies back there as well, so he was taking the lead on the letter that went out. I'm not aware of any response to it yet.
Okay.
Okay. Rich has not made it back yet. Mike Rinaldi, Recreation?
We got a new piece of equipment at the park.
A very busy one.
Zip cruise. Oh. Spans 30 foot. Sit on a pole, go from one side to the other. It's kind of pretty cool. It's for people of all ages.
On the website.
So, yeah, come and check it out. It's pretty cool. There's a line every time I look out the window. There's a line of kids. So it's a lot of fun. It's safe, and it really kind of freshens up the park a little bit. We're in the process of painting all our swings and slides and stuff to kind of freshen things up, because a lot of it is original. I played on it when I was going Eric Road. I mean, it's all original stuff. We're sort of doing a similar thing over at Mario. That needs a little more TLC, but in terms of freshening it up, again, we're painting the slides, the picnic tables, the picnic benches, and that kind of stuff. But the only other thing I have is Wheatfield Town Picnic's coming up, August 23rd, Sunday, flag raises at 10:45.
Anything for Mike?
You mentioned Mario. Do we have softball or baseball games scheduled there? I know a couple of years ago, men's softball played out there, but I don't know if we have any.
For the men's league, when we've done makeups or rescheduled games, we play over at Adams, but we've had girls' fast pitch games there all summer.
So the regular season games out
Yeah.
there?
You can use it. Actually, we got to use it tomorrow because we got 4 games.
Right. I think it's good to have multiple different things going, not just the playground, but, and then that front part, that's off of Jagow. You know, it's been, we got the dirt, and I think Wendell was giving us a plan to cover it. Are we going to be seeding that this fall, or do we have a plan to, you know, take the dirt that's there and make it more presentable?
I don't think there's any plan. Wendell had come to us with a finished plan to finish off fields, including topsoil, seeding, and laying out of the fields. And because of the amount of money, we said, let's hold off. It's not really needed yet. It's available for the future. We did talk that we might want to try and get highway over there with a bulldozer to level it off more, move it more into where it should be. But I don't know that we have ever, Paul has not had time enough to look at that, I'm sure. I think that's as far as we went.
Right, the plans are basically done. We're just on hold until we're down to
Yeah, to turn those into several fields and a parking lot and do the drainage, we were looking at close to $500,000. So, with the other things we got going on, that doesn't seem to be as high a priority.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Bridget, anything?
We're getting ready for the next round of exemption renewals.
Okay. When is, do you know when they're due?
March 1st of next year, but start early.
Yeah, start early, start often? Okay. Anything for Bridget? Arlene, what's new with seniors? Are you? We might have a building for you pretty soon. I was in there Friday, it's all painted up. They still have to put the heating system back in. They had to put the trim back on. And then the inside will be done.
We're still there on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the lunch and practice.
Yeah. Did they get the heating in, Mike?
Not today.
Not yet.
They're gonna get the wallpaper up first.
The wallpaper that was back ordered?
Okay.
Did you get it? Last time I talked to you, you didn't have the wallpaper.
They had middle section and it had,
Good. Okay, then we'll move on to Wendell. Tim or Tim?
Thank you. The first item we have on our agenda this evening is the planning board report. There's only been one planning board meeting in the month of July, and that was actually on the 1st of July. The first item on that agenda was a public information meeting on the conservation subdivision design law. The Green Space Focus Group chairman led a discussion with the planning board and several members of the town board about the content and status of the proposed conservation subdivision law. Several items were discussed which will require additional revision or modification by the focus group. The planning board and town board were both to email any additional comments that they had to the focus group for incorporation into their next draft. The next item was the site plan for Empire Pipeline Meter and Regulator Station. You've heard us talk about this one at a couple different summaries in the past. That is to construct the 150 by 150 stone pad and meter regulator station at 6065 Walmore Road. A negative declaration under seeker was approved at this meeting, and the site plan was then approved with noted conditions of the planning board and contingent upon engineering review. One of the conditions of the planning board was that a baseline noise survey be done before construction and then followed up after construction with another noise survey to make sure that the claims that they've reported on are in fact true, and if not, require additional mitigation from them at their station. The next item was a sketch plan for a cell tower installation, and this is proposed at 6571 Shawnee Road. The cell tower itself would be 195 feet tall with a 4-foot lightning rod for a total height of 199 feet. This station would have Verizon Wireless as a primary tenant. The applicant was advised of several items and issues to review prior to their next submittal, including notification to the Niagara Falls Air Base. No action was required or taken. The last item on the agenda was a sketch plan for the major subdivision preliminary plat at Aubrey Way. The applicant proposes to divide this 17-acre parcel at 3400 Niagara Falls Boulevard into 23-lot single-family residential subdivision and one commercial lot, which would be the remaining Weaver Motorsports property. The residential subdivision would be accessed from Nash Road, while the commercial lot would retain its existing access from Niagara Falls Boulevard. There were several residents who were in attendance for that and asked a lot of good questions of the applicant. And the applicant was again advised of several items and issues to review prior to their next submittal. No action was required or taken. And that is our summary for July. Are there any questions?
What happens on the cell tower? Does it just go to the planning board? Will that come back to the town board typically or no?
That is a standard site plan approval through the planning board. They have there's a whole separate section in the town code that they have to follow for that.
200 feet on Shawnee. Is that any way, shape, or form in the flight path?
It's in the general direction, but it's pretty far away. That's why their preliminary requirements are to contact the Air Base and the NFTA and the FAA. Mr. Muscatello is a very strong proponent of that, and actually there's a litany of agencies he requested that they contact early on, so those are just the main ones.
When is the next planning board meeting? Is it this week?
It is not this week. It is the following Wednesday. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. The first Wednesday in August.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Tim.
Okay. The only other item on our agenda is what I understand we need further action on before that can be considered, so we'll hold on until later in the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
We don't have many motions, Matt, but we do have a couple.
Yes, first motion is to rescind the prior motion, rescind the resolution of the Wheatfield Town Board made on July 13th, 2015 regarding abandoning its interest in vacant land on Moore Road in the town of Wheatfield, SBL number 163.02-1-31.211, as since the time of said resolution, additional information has been uncovered to indicate that the property may have been dedicated to the town, and as such, the town requires additional research and due diligence to determine whether abandonment is in the best interest of the town.
Does anybody wish to make that motion?
So moved.
Moved by Gil. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Randy. Now, if I understand, basically this is not saying we're not going to go ahead and deed it over, but it's also saying we might. At this point, we need to do more homework.
Correct. When it was originally presented to us, the assertion by the developer was that the property was owned by the developer still and had not been dedicated to the town. Since that time, the actual dedication documents have been uncovered that was filed with the clerk, so there seems to be a little bit of a discrepancy. So before we can, I think, prudently move forward, we just have to do a little more homework and take into account this additional information.
Okay. Any other questions, gentlemen? If not, then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. I guess we own the property still. Go ahead.
Okay, next resolution's from Bond Counsel and Town Attorney's Office. It's quite lengthy. It is the bond resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Wheatfield, Niagara County, New York, authorizing the issuance of up to $350,000 in serial bonds of the town to finance the cost of a preliminary engineering study of proposed improvements relating to the Niagara Riverfront multi-use trail project and certain related initial expenditures. And I would say the rest is the language of the bond motion, which is lengthy, and I would suggest, rather than reading it, just be as submitted in the agenda.
Okay. Does anybody wish to make this motion? I'll go ahead and move. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I heard you both.
I'm closer.
Okay, we got Art then. Any questions on the subject? If not, then all in favor of approving the bond resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. Do we want to go back to the other one?
I think we certainly can. I don't know if Wendell, now that we passed the bond resolution, would like to discuss the motion, or I'll just read it as follows. Any discussion?
Yeah, so now that the bond resolution is passed, and my understanding from bond counsel and my emails is that since that bond resolution is passed and there is an estoppel notice that has to be filed, but once we're through, a big part of this is the environmental work, doing seeker, and we'll basically get a preliminary alignment, do the seeker and environmental work on that preliminary alignment, and there's NEPA work, which is the National Environmental Program as well, because the Scenic Byways grant is federal money, or at least partially federal money. Once we're through that, and at that point we'll pretty much have a schematic design, then the town will be amending this bond resolution because we'll have a decent cost estimate at that point in time for the entire Phase 1 project, and then this money can be reimbursed that is spent doing the engineering and design. So bond resolution was the first step. The next step to keep the process moving is to authorize our services for design and environmental work. And that we have a very detailed proposal and scope in the packet. So I'm willing to answer any questions that anybody has on that scope. It is through bidding of Phase 1, so it's design and bidding of Phase 1.
Okay, does anybody wish to make this motion? Or do you want to read it?
Yeah, why don't I, okay. With that, the motion is to authorize Wendell to provide professional services for the Niagara River waterfront multi-use trail in accordance with their proposal letter dated July 9th, 2015 for a lump sum fee of $346,635.
Does anybody wish to make that motion?
Tim, you said this was through phase one, Bob, you said it a little bit earlier, it was through both phases, or was I?
It's design of both phases. It may be subject to some modification down the road because we don't yet know what's going to happen with the railroad, with CSX. But it's the assumption, if the assumption we're making with CSX is correct, this would be full design of the entire project up through the bidding process.
And then the bidding is only for
Phase one, correct.
which is right now planned to be from Liberty Drive to the
To Griffin.
City of Niagara Falls line,
Right.
is what's planned for phase one.
Yeah, we're going to 102nd Street, correct?
Right, wherever the city line is, which is pretty much around 102nd Street.
Okay, does anybody wish to make this motion?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Randy. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Larry. We had already selected Wendell several meetings ago as the designer. This is now approving the amount of money for the proposal. Anything further on the question? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is approved. So,
The next step, gentlemen, is getting with CSX, and we already have a call into them. I wish I could tell you when. We're back. Thank you.
so it's 5-0, right? Okay, Matt, we're on page 2.
Yep. Next motion is to authorize the Water and Sewer Department to seek and advertise for bids for a new 2015 van with shelving estimated to cost between $20,000 and $25,000, reserving right to reject any and all bids.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gil, second by Art. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
And I have one late addition. It's not written down in the agenda motion. I can summarize it for the board and decide if you want to take action, but it is another motion from the Water and Sewer Department to reject the auction bid received with regarding to a lift gate and authorize them to re-bid or relist it for sale because the amount received was inadequate according to the Richard Donner.
Does anybody wish to make the motion to not accept,
So
refuse to accept?
So move.
Okay, moved by Art, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Randy. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved.
And that is all I have at this point for motions. Thank you.
Okay, we are very likely going to be going into an executive session later. There's probably some more business that'll happen after the executive session. But for the moment, let's move on. We can do that at the end of the meeting. So we'll move on to board member items. Larry?
Well, Bob, this is a meeting that you attended, the Niagara River Greenway Commission in Lewiston, and I think it was a pretty successful meeting that you and Bernie both attended. And essentially we got unanimous support for our Greenway project, and was this the meeting you had a round of applause to?
Yeah. Interestingly, the first people to speak, the first people to comment, was river keepers. And even they were very much in favor of going ahead with the Greenway Trail. There's only 3 sections of Greenway Trail left that haven't been accounted for, and one of those is in Wheatfield. And everybody wants to get this done. So,
That's all I have. Thank you.
okay, Art, anything?
Nothing to report this evening.
Gilbert?
Nothing.
And Randy?
Couple things. One, that we sent the agricultural plan out to all the farmers to get their comments, if they have any, and we're meeting again in September. And the other thing is, I see Mr. Stefanski here. I looked at your property. Matt looked at your property, and we talked about it. And our plan, I believe, is to talk to the building department, Mike Clark.
Somebody has to do a citation. Yeah.
And do a citation, I guess, telling your neighbor that he must contain all of his water. Is that?
Well, he must address it. There's sections of the state property maintenance code that you cannot discharge your water onto neighboring properties, and I think it's, the consensus appears to be doing so. So therefore, get an opportunity to correct it with a violation notice, and if you can't correct it, then we may have to proceed forward in other fashions, court and possibility.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, thanks. I got a couple of things. Gentlemen, we have a proposal before us having to do with cell towers on Wheatfield property. I think you've only had it a couple of days. I wouldn't suggest that we move on it tonight, but maybe we should consider moving on this one way or the other at our next meeting. We do have the design proposal in my office if you want to see it. The 3 locations, they're actually asking for 4 locations. We, in a prior meeting, have agreed that we probably aren't going to go with one of those 4. But we would consider these 3. So be prepared at the next meeting to bring this up as an actual motion, get whatever information you need.
Did they send this revised? I don't remember seeing that.
You should have gotten a letter. Should have gotten a letter that looks like that. Send that down to Larry for a second.
Thought I had one.
I don't.
Now you do.
Okay, it should have gone into the mailbox just a couple of days ago. If you don't have one, we can certainly get you one.
I'd like one too. I don't have one either.
Okay, so be prepared for that for the next meeting.
What was the original amount that they were going to give us? Was it
$20,000 each cell tower one time, and this now is the rental that we had talked about. So be prepared for it for the next meeting. We have also before us a suggestion by the county, coming through the county, for a free mercury thermostat and free rechargeable battery recycling bin. They'll give us a bin and they will take these away from us for free. I don't know if we're prepared to go ahead with this at this time, but it's another thing we should be ready to go ahead with by the next meeting. Unless somebody wants to go ahead and approve it. Rich isn't here. He's probably going to be the one that has the bins. He's probably going to be the one that has to handle the folks that bring them in. If you remember when we started recycling over there, everything was going to be not only free, but they were going to pay us to have our recycling done. That doesn't seem to be happening for the electronics. Nowadays we're paying more than we're getting in. This could happen also. The same thing could happen. It's not such an amount of money to be nervous about, but it's not, beware the person selling something for free.
What type of batteries did they say?
Rechargeable batteries.
Only
So
rechargeable.
it's the lithium and what do they call it? Lithium and nickel iron, I think it says in there somewhere. It talks about rechargeables and what type of materials. And you do have a copy of that. But we just barely got that too.
I was going to bring car batteries in.
Yeah.
Bob, was this something outside of the contract when we talked recycling originally?
This is something that Modern doesn't want. We're not allowed to put landfill batteries. This is a way of having our residents be able to drop them off, presumably at water sewer, and it would be picked up and disposed of properly.
I'm wondering if Don Kim at the county could give us a listing, like motor oil, when you buy oil at a place that sells oil, they have to take back all your used motor oil. But now with batteries, I thought Value or Home Depot. I thought,
Most of the stores have recycled.
I've seen them in some of the.
Power tools have the most recycled batteries.
I've seen some of the stores have them, but I don't see it in all the stores. So I was wondering if we could even post it.
Probably behind the counter, and you probably got to ask, I bet.
This is actually coming from Don.
Okay.
Sears will take them too.
Don also brought us the other recycling, but ended up costing us money.
I thought there was a place that took batteries, regardless whether they were rechargeable batteries or just regular spent, like flashlight batteries and stuff like that.
Home Depot takes those.
Home Depot does?
I know they're one of them.
Okay. So that's all I have.
announcement about the, sign law next meeting. Wanted to,
Oh, okay, that's right. We've talked at some length about the electronic sign law changes. They went around through the task force, around through the planning board, a whole lot of changes. We held a public information meeting or a public hearing here, I think it was a public hearing, to discuss that, and there were a lot of comments, some very good ones. We modified the modifications to the law. Bob brought them back to us about a month ago, and we thought it would be a good idea to go back to the people who had written the original law, namely the planning board, to see if they had any further comment, because some of the ideas that they had put in had now been taken out, like turning them off at 9 o'clock at night. That's gone. As long as you dim it down, it would be lawful to leave on all night. That was one of the major modifications. So we want to make sure that everybody who wants to speak on that issue or see that issue has the opportunity to read through the changes to the changes that'll come up at our next board meeting, because we very likely will be passing the changes to this law at the next meeting, or some version of that. So just let everybody out there know that it's coming up. We'll probably try and get something up on our website in the next day or two so that you can see what it says. And that'll be another motion at the next meeting. So I do believe that's all I have for the moment. We do have a potential for a couple of motions. I'll go ahead and... Pardon?
Did we vote? To come out?
Yep,
Yes.
everyone said yes.
Okay. I'm going to make the motion that we hire Vincent Sandonato as a human resources manager provisional. He is not on the list. There is no list for civil service, and this would be a half-time position, meaning basically no benefits, at a rate of $800 per week.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? If there is no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
Aye.
It's 4-1 in favor. That's approved. Does anybody wish to make another motion? The Devontier one.
The water
Yeah.
sewer? Water sewer, move from a water sewer level 1 to a water sewer level 2. I don't know what the pay is. Do you have the actual motion?
Yeah, it's in the papers. Matt has it.
Let me just... I didn't want to just throw a number out.
It's in here.
The number isn't, but the grade,
Yeah, it is. Oh, well, here would be the potential motion. Motion to appoint and move Timothy Devantier from Water Sewer 1 to Water Sewer 2, position at Step 5, Grade 9, at a rate of $22.14 an hour.
Okay, is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Gill. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also approved. And is there any other business before the
Just one.
town? Yep.
Matt. All Devontiers are pronounced Devontier, not Devantiers, not Devantiers. They are all Devontiers. Just a word of caution.
I take exception to that. Go talk to Ralph Devantier.
Yeah, on Lockport Road they're different.
Yeah, there is one family. Okay, anything else before this board? Yep. Move to adjourn. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.